this tutorial, I want to demonstrate how to turn this photograph into a piece of art. Check this out. I've created a cartoon vector art, an oil painting, a pencil sketch, and a watercolor. I did this by using these expressions you see here as my prompts. So I'm using artistic terms as a prompt when creating a generative fill. But there's more to it. There's a super user tip and technique, and I'm about to show it to you now. Let's start here with my original image right here. Here it is. I'm now going to select the letter Q on my keyboard. Just like that. Notice that my original image is highlighted over here to the right. I'm in the quick mask mode. Aha! If I fill this area of my image, I can then fill it and create a mask. This is how we're going to do it, and watch very carefully. It's a bit complicated. I'm going to go right over here to my foreground color and tap once here. Notice my brightness value right here. I'm going to set this brightness value to 40. 40% will then create a 40% mask, an intensity mask that's going to be used for example, a watercolor that I'm going to create. So I want a 40% combination of my original image and a watercolor. Wow. I'm going to select OK. That's step number 1. Next, we'll go to the Edit menu and down to Fill. We're going to fill with the foreground color and select OK. So I've filled the entire image area with a 40% value, as you see here. That is a mask. I now can select the Q key again on my keyboard. We don't see the mask as a selection, but it's there. We know it's there because the Generative Fill taskbar has appeared here. It's allowing us to tap right in here, and now I'm going to type in the word watercolor. Now I select Generate. It's going to process this 40% mask of a combination of this image and a watercolor. The results will be really quite amazing, as you're going to see right here. Cool. So I'm using 40% for this. I can choose different percentages and get different results. So there's your tip and technique. In fact, a super user tip and technique for creating a watercolor. Try using some of the other prompts that I worked with, like pencil sketch, oil paint, and cartoon vector. Give this a try, have some fun, experiment. Remember, you could also run this process and check out the 3 different variations which will be created each time you do this. There you have it. Give it a try. In this project, I'm going to demonstrate how to load and use a special generative fill action that I've created. This action will create artwork from your original photographs. Check this out. Here's the cartoon vector art that you can create. Here's an oil paint. Here's a pencil sketch. And here's a watercolor. Wow. I'm going to create different variations of these different art styles with this action. Let's get started. Here's my original image right here. I need to first download the action. You can find the action associated with this video. Locate the download link, load it onto your computer, and then you'll be ready for this next step. Right up here from this flyout menu right here, we're going to load actions. I've downloaded my action here into my downloads folder on my Macintosh. I select the action and then open it. The process of opening it loads it here into your Actions tabbed menu. Cool. You'll notice that you have watercolor action, oil paint, pencil sketch, and a cartoon vector. All of these actions will use the Generative Fill feature, but it will use it in the different percentages. to give you a variety of really amazing results. Let's try watercolor to start this off. I have my original layer targeted here. I want to start with my original. With the watercolor action selected, I go down here to the play button right here. I select play. This will then start the action, which will then use different percentages of quick mask on this image to create different intensities of a watercolor image based upon the original. It needs to process for just a moment until you see all layers are complete. Okay, there you can see the processing is complete, and you now understand why it took so long, because I've created these different percentages of the original. Let's continue by turning on the visibility of these different percentages. 40%, 50%, which looks really interesting, and 60, 70, and 80% of the original to finish this all off. I've created this action with these different percentages so you can select just the percentage that works perfectly for your project. There you have it. Try experimenting with the oil paint action, the pencil sketch action, and the cartoon vector action and see what results you get. Remember to start with the original image, and if you have any error messages which should appear, simply stop the action and start again. Give this a try, experiment. I hope you enjoy this action for Generative Fill here inside of Photoshop.
With the Generative Expand in Photoshop, you can convert your vertical videos into horizontal in just a few clicks. All you need is a video shot on a tripod with no moving elements on the edges. When you open a video file in Photoshop, you will see the footage in the timeline panel. You can click on the play button to play the video. Now let's turn this video into a horizontal aspect ratio by generating content on the sides. First, enable the crop tool. From here, we'll use the Generative Expand button, but first we need to make sure our generated content appears at the start of the video and on top of the original footage in the video timeline. So, drag the playhead to the start of the video and click on the video group. Otherwise, your generation may not be visible. Now select the horizontal aspect ratio from this list. I'll choose 16:9. Then, use the handles to expand the crop and drag to place it into position. Now, click on Generative Expand and leave the prompt blank. Then click Generate. Photoshop will now generate 3 very convincing variations. They all make it seem like this is a real horizontal video. And when you click on the play button, you'll see how realistic the footage looks. Take control over your generations by adjusting the intensity. When you create a selection, you can click on Generative Fill to add content to your image. For example, try the prompt Sea Turtle. The resulting variations are good, but they don't quite match the scene. The turtles do not look like they're in the water. Here's a trick to change the intensity of the generations. First, enter the quick mask mode by pressing the Q key. You will see the layer highlight in red. Now click on this black and white icon to make the foreground color black. And press Alt and Backspace on Windows, Option Delete on the Mac to fill the quick mask with the foreground color, which is black. This will make it so that nothing is selected. Now double-click on the foreground color to bring up the color picker. Black is currently selected, which has a brightness of 0%. When you make it white, brightness will be at 100%. Think of these brightness values as the intensity of the generative fill. To make it seem like the sea turtle is deeper in the water, we need a less intense generation. So change the brightness to 60% to generate at 60% intensity and press OK. Now create another selection and press Alt and Backspace on Windows. That's Option Delete on the Mac to fill the selection with 60% gray. Press the Q key to exit the quick mask mode and click on the Generative Fill button and type Sea Turtle. Then click Generate. The results will now be less intense, making it seem like those sea turtles are really in the water.
Today we're going to show you how to create an animated GIF using Generative Fill backgrounds. We're going to start by going to Select Subject and then make this contract by about 10 pixels. Next, we're going to inverse our selection so it's selecting the background and click on Generative Fill. we're going to type in splash. And here we can see our variations. We can see we have several different splash variations. I think this one looks absolutely incredible. Next, we're going to go ahead and type in clouds in sky and hit generate. And these variations look absolutely stunning. Headphones in the sky, beautiful, nice and lightweight. In professional music studio with speakers and instruments and mixing board. And here we have our variations. This one looks absolutely incredible. Next, we're going to type in here, headphones smashing rocks, and hit enter. We want to show that these headphones are very durable. And these results look incredible. Look at that. Looks like the headphones are actually smashing these rocks. I love this one. Now, all of these options are included in the properties window. So as I go through them, we can see all of our different variations here. And our goal is going to be creating an animated GIF using these variations. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and create 4 new layers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on this first layer, we're going to go to image and then down to apply image and hit OK. It's going to take whatever it sees and put that on a new layer. Let's go ahead and make that invisible. Click on our generative fill and then choose our next option. I love this music studio. We're going to go back to our layer 2, image, apply image. There we go. And then repeat this process just a couple of times. So we're going to go ahead and click on these clouds, layers, layer 3, image, apply image. Fantastic. And then we're going to go all the way back down to our generative fill, and we'll go to our beginning with our splash. And there we go on layer 4, image, apply image. So now we can see we have 4 different layers. Each of these has the content of different generations from our generative fill layer. So the first thing we're going to do is go to window and then down to timeline. And then right here, we want to make sure we click on create frame animation and go ahead and click on create frame animation. Here we can see our first frame is what we have visible. Let's click on a new frame and then make our other layer visible. And as you can see, it makes up the second frame. Let's click on one more frame. Let's make that visible. One more frame and make that invisible there. Each one of these frames now makes up our images that we were able to get from Generative Fill. Let's go ahead and shift click all of those, take our delay and put it to 0.5 seconds and hit play so we can see our preview of the animation. Looking really, really good. Now it's time to go ahead and save it out. To save an animated GIF, simply go to File, down to Export, and Save for Web. Up at the very top, you want to make sure you choose GIF or GIF, depending on how you want to say it. We're going to go ahead and resize our animation, our width and our height. We're just going to put our width at 800 pixels and hit enter. And if I click on this preview icon, it'll automatically load in my preferred Internet Explorer. From here, all we have to do is hit save. We'll just call this headphones.
Did you ever wish you had a Photoshop brush that's just right for fine-tuning fur or other fuzzy edges? Well, now you can make your own custom brush for that purpose using Generative Fill in Photoshop. I have an image of an explorer that I'd like to mask out and put on this mountain scene. So I'm going to be on the layer and I'm going to use the contextual taskbar and hit Remove Background. Well, that was fast, but not quite exactly what I need, especially around the fur edge. So what I'm going to do is make a new brush to mask that edge. Starting with a white layer, I'm going to use the marquee tool, but I'm going to use the ellipse marquee tool. And I'm going to hold the Option key and the Shift key and pull it out about the size where I think I'd like it. I think that's about right. Now with Generative Fill, I can simply type in long, fuzzy, shaggy fur ball and hit Generate. Well, that's a cool fur ball. It's got a shadow though. That's a cool fur ball. Oh, that's the one I'm going to use because it has no shadow. I'm going to go ahead and delete the ones I don't want to keep my file clean. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a levels move. So under Image Adjustment Levels, I can make it really dark because I really want a mask that's just for the fur edges. And I want to bring the whites in just a bit. Okay, that looks good to me. So now I'm going to go back to the marquee tool, only the rectangle. Again, hold the Option key and the Shift key to select around it. So now what I'm going to do is go under Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I like to name it the exact same name I used for my prompt. Let's see what that brush now looks like. I'm going to deselect, Command D, go to my brush palette. You'll notice the last brush you made will show up there. And let's go ahead and tap on this white with black color and see what we got. Oh, that's amazing, right? Now, if you want to change it up, tap on the brush settings and you can tap on shape dynamics and let's change that angle jitter so it'll spin a little bit. Close that. Oh yeah, that gives me a little more variation. I think this is going to be fantastic. I started with the lasso selection of just the parka hood. I did this to ensure that only the area of the layer mask would be affected by the fuzzy brush. Then I used the custom brush preset to paint on the layer mask with black along the outer edge of the parka hood to make it look more realistic. And in just a few seconds, I was able to make a detailed fur edges with a custom brush I created with Generative Fill.